Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com. And it's Wednesday, it's February 6th. This will be our chart lesson for the day. And today's just a range day. The one thing about it is most of your resistance was fair, right along this same level. We did turn down early a few times, and then most of the resistance was across this area, particularly in the afternoon. Earlier on, I had it down here, but later in the afternoon it was much higher here. And that this is the hard part when this resistance is not consistently along the same, or support and resistance is not consistently at the same places. It makes it a little harder. So really you're looking for reversals from one side to the other and so forth. But where you got to be careful is getting long right into this midline or short right into this midline. Generally, you want to watch prices push through. You'll notice how we pushed through and it acted as support before I got along. Here we pushed through, it acted as resistance before. Resistance here, support here. So just notice that we did get one long down here off the lows. And there's some others possibilities when you're way away from the EMA like this. And this is a second entry long. I didn't mark it. That's one you might consider. And it's a fairly bullish bar. Generally, you want to wait on that higher low, but it doesn't come to way up here, and you're right back into the midline right there. So, but not a lot of trades today. I'll back out. We'll talk about them and get today over with. It's not going to take long because it looks like there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 7 trades and a couple of green ones. But this is more typical of what the ES is on during most of the year. I mean, we've had that high volatility where you might get 30 trades in a day, and that's just not normal for the ES. This is, even though it seems really quiet and slow now, this is probably more realistic and more typical of what you'll see on a uh, day-to-day basis here with the trading the ES. So just be aware of that. But a reminder, real quick. I will not be here tomorrow. I've got my doctor's appointment, so I'll be going to my doctor's appointment tomorrow. I may, if I, it just depends. If I have time, I may come in for a few minutes in the morning. I may post the mid-morning chart. I'm just not sure how my day is going to go. I know I won't be doing the YouTube video tomorrow afternoon, the chart lesson. So that one you can scratch, and that'll be it for the week. So again, you may see a mid-morning chart, but that'll be it, and then we'll wrap it up, and I won't be back till next Monday. So no chart lessons on Fridays anymore. So just be aware of that, so you won't be out looking for that mid-morning chart tomorrow. Afternoon or evening YouTube video, because it won't be there tomorrow. Um, I'm hoping my doctor's going to release me and tell me that, let me do a few more extra things than what he's been allowing me to do. My vision is getting better. I'm still not able to look at the chart for for long periods of times, but I am able to look at it longer than normal. I'm getting better. My eyes are getting better, and hopefully I have been taking some trades. Not I haven't been trading all day, but I've been taking a couple trades here and there. If I'm looking at the chart and I see a setup I like, I do take a trade or two. But I am not watching the chart, really from 7 to 10 to 12 like I usually do. But anyway, I want to get through the chart lesson here and wrap it up and get out of here for the day. Let me move over here. I'm going to back out a little bit so we can see it a little better. First trade was just after 7 o'clock this morning. There's a failed second entry short right here. Notice you're coming down here and you get a first entry short. You push through and you get a second. That's a possibility. It would have worked, but that's a pretty strong trend down, and you think we may try to um, push lower one more time and make a test for a new low. But if it's a range day, we may keep going up. So what I liked was when we made a higher low here after that, and that nice bullish bar, I liked entering above that bar there. I think that was the more realistic entry. This one is actually before 7 o'clock, so I don't think it matters anyway. Most people, I wouldn't. Yeah, that's 6 o'clock. If I'd been after 7, I would probably make that one green. You could argue for it to even be red, but I think you're better off when you get that one more push back and and that nice bullish bar, and that is after 7 o'clock, so that's a good setup. And then we run up and you pull back and you get a first entry and you turn lower again and you get a second entry right there. It didn't break lower, but it's still a second entry long. Notice that high is lower than that one. Nice bullish bar. All three of those bars are relatively bullish, so you're probably going to push up and at least test this high, but I'm guessing we're going to go back and test the overnight high, which we do. And you do get a close outside here, a new high, and this thing rockets down. You really just don't get a chance to enter to the short side right here. It just keeps going. Notice there's a lower high right here, and if you'd have went short right there, you'd have got burned. But you're not back to the EMA. There's a few bars stacking up. I would just sit tight, and notice how it goes higher here. There is a higher low right here, but again, you got to go. It actually breaks lower, turns up, and that is a failed second entry short. You could look at it like that. So that one's another one that's a possibility. I didn't mark it just simply because you never know if it's going to try to make a new low here. So it just wasn't a good setup. Okay, I had an interruption there. Probably not noticeable by y'all, but I've been gone a few minutes and I can't remember what trade we talked about. I think we were talking about this trade. I'll just start here just in case. But we pull back, you get a first entry. It doesn't break lower, but you get a second entry right there. And you're going to at least test this high, and you're probably going to try to test the overnight high, which is up here. And that's exactly where we go. We actually go a little higher before it sells off. And it's a shame you don't get a chance to enter in here. But you do get a little reversal pattern. We actually might have already talked about this. I'm not crazy about this trade. You really didn't know that this is your midpoint at this point, so this one's not as important here. But we did bounce off of it right here, and then we pull back and make a higher low, and there's a failed second entry short there. I really thought we would continue lower and test this low if this was going to be a range type day, but we went higher here. But that's a failed second entry short, and you do go long. It actually goes lower first and goes out the other side. So if you wanted to go long, you could right there. I'm going to leave it green. But it is a reversal type pattern. So there's a good chance that we take off and make another leg up just like this one. Doesn't happen. We actually can't even get back up to here. So notice how we get a break here, move to a new high. Not a very good signal bar, so we want to wait on a lower high, and we never get it. Look how we just sell off. It's a shame that this is one of those where people will get all antsy because this takes off, and they'll say, I'm missing a great trade, but this is not a good, there's no good setup here. There's no way to get in that trade. It's one of those where patience, you just watch it and let it go, and there just wasn't a setup there. And if you notice, there's your first leg, and then you'd look for a measured leg, and we basically got almost a perfect measured leg, but then we actually get another move down here too. So notice we get your first break, and I don't have my little trend line drawn. That one's pretty obvious. You really don't need it on there, but I always recommend people draw their trend lines because I can see these things without even drawing them anymore, but it takes a while to get there. So always draw your trend lines. But anyway, you get a close outside, move to a new high, it turns down. There's a second entry there. That's not a very good signal bar, but notice this is a new high. That's your first entry. Pull back. There's a second entry long. Everything's below the EMA. It's like a little double test. There's a little break higher and a second entry short if you count off the lows. So I like that one. And you're just looking for prices to come back down and test these lows. And of course we do. We actually go a little lower here. And that's a pretty good move. And again, I would measure this first leg here and look for a measured move. And you can see we went a little further again. So then you get a bounce here. This is basically a double bottom with a little trap. So if there was a little more room in there, you may take this trade anyway. I always think you're better off to wait on the high or low, but you may take that trade regardless. It's one that you could probably argue for to be great. It's a really big bar too, so that's another problem. I mean, that's a lot of risk in that one bar for that little bit just to get back to the EMA. So I'm not crazy about it. I'll leave it green, but I'm not crazy about it. So the better setup is when we come back here. Notice how we push through and pull back. Um, Earlier, I had a really nice signal bar here. Is the reason that one's marked blue. Looking at it, I reloaded my data here just to make sure. A couple of times in the afternoon, I haven't been watching because I'm not watching the screen all day. My computer will go in the sleep mode and it stops loading data. And a couple of you have asked me because my chart looked a little different. So I've been reloading the data in the afternoon, and this changed. I don't know. My signal bar doesn't look near as good as it did in real time. But if you had a good signal bar here, notice how we pushed through. It's just the first entry, but just the fact that that rocketed up, pushed through, pulled back, and it's a little failed break lower below the overnight low on what looks like a range day. And notice this little trend moving down. You got a break, a new low, so everything's in place. So if you had a good signal bar, looking at this signal bar here, not so good. In fact, actually, I think I had a little double push down there. I actually think there was a failed second entry short on my original chart, but it's not there now. So that one's kind of hard to justify looking at my chart here. But I left it blue and was going to explain that because on some of y'all's live, it might have looked as good as it did on mine, but it just doesn't look very good right there. So we're running up. And actually on my original chart, I had a tick lower here too, and now you don't have it. And now there's 4 bars stacked up with a perfect doji. I probably wouldn't take that trade either. But on my other chart, there was a tick back and we went higher and there wasn't congestion like that. So it's amazing how much difference a little bit of change in your chart will make. And reloading it really changed my chart. But notice we get a break here. Let me back up here. The longer, this is one of those, I did want to tell people, this is a really tight trend. You're never probably going to get a second entry on the chart, on a range or a channel that's that tight and that steep. And so if you get a little pullback with a bullish bar, and especially with this being a range day and we're looking for prices to come back up here, you're probably going to have to take that trade. Otherwise, you just have to sit here and watch it. But having said that, the further and further away you get away from the EMA, look how long we've been away now. And the more higher you go and the further you get away, it's just a matter of time, just like right here, before it comes back to the EMA. So just keep that in mind. That's the reason that one's green. And I think previously on my chart, it broke lower and then turned up, and it had a nice little bullish bar. It was relatively small, only a few ticks. And it was really the first correction all the way up. And when you get a strong little trend move, I mean, pretty much everybody's thinking, hey, this is a range now. We're headed to the upper side, and they're all buying all the way up, knowing that we're headed back up here. You just got to be careful the closer you get, because you could have one of those moves that comes up short, like this one right here, and turns back down. So just remember that. But I wanted to talk about that. But we do get our break, a new high. And this is another one you might consider going short here. It's a long way away from the EMA. You've had your break. You got a new high. It's a range day. We've been turning down right in this area every time. So that's another one if you want to be aggressive. Because it's just a matter of time that it comes back to that EMA. But I am going to make it green. It's definitely an aggressive trade. Wait on your lower high, which you're moving down. It pulls back. And there's your lower high, and there's a little double bottom here, so it's a little breakout pullback. Look how bearish that bar is. I like going short there. Just trying to ride it back down. At that point, and at this point, I would have looked for it to go all the way to here, but we end up bouncing, and all this moves up a little bit, as you can see here. And then we bounce here, and again, you're way away from the EMA, just like you were, even further than you were up here. That's a relatively bullish bar, so you may risk it back. I made it green. Then it pulls back. You get a higher low here, but it's pretty obvious this is your midline now, and I didn't like going long right into that midline. Then you move up, you get a first entry, and that's a possibility there. It's a lower high. You got that little trap. This is all played out over here, but I think you were better off to wait on this next one, which is a true reversal, but honestly, that one should probably at least be green. Because if I was trading, I would probably like that trade. It's just a lower high, but you're looking, this side's probably played out, but we just came off that low, so there's always a chance it ticks lower and traps people right there. And really, when it broke lower, normally the way I would trade this is if it went higher and then turns and goes out the other side, I would want to go short one tick below that. But that's right there at that midline, and it's starting to get kind of obvious that it's there now. So that was another reason I wasn't crazy about that one. But if you waited on this bar, what you could do is let it break lower below this one and drop a limit order back up here where you normally would have, or maybe even a tick back in, and you would have got filled when it came back here, and then it goes lower, and it takes a little bit of the risk out of it besides that huge bar. So that's another way to look at that one. But then your true reversal pattern and your failed second entry long right there, I like that one. Takes it a minute to chop on down. And notice that we do get a couple of, we came back and tested this one more time, and then you get a little double test, and that's a second entry short. But that's a really neutral bar, and you're really going sideways, so I don't like it. We do work on down, and you notice we make a little double bottom that's higher. But this is right back into the EMA, and notice how we've got that resistance. It did push on through. So I would wait and see if you get the reversal pattern, which you do, but then you got to go long right back into that midline, and look how we turn down there every time. So it's a little bit risky, and notice what would have happened. You would have got stopped out. But then it pushes up and tries to go lower one more time, and it bounces and closes above. So now it's acting as support. That's where I like going long. You would really think we're headed back up here, but at this point now all the resistance has moved down into here, and you can see it. I would have had that probably right along there, maybe right along there, and you get a little failed break higher. You break higher here with a lower high, and again, previously on my chart it broke higher here up here too, so this was a failed second entry long, and it actually went higher in turns and went out the other side. It is back into that support resistance type area, but this really looks like everything has changed now, and this is down here, and you can see that how it looks different right there, how that does look like that's your support and resistance, and your highs are up here. So that's how I was looking at that by that time, and you got enough room to get out. Notice how we did get a little resistance there. We kept going, so you could have got a nice little move. And also I did want to say too that if you waited on this bar for your signal bar, you would enter right here, but that's got a lot of stem on it. So if I didn't play it where it went higher and I already went short right there, I may not take that trade. I might make this more green. So your entry would be one tick below here, and that's very neutral bar, so I probably wouldn't take that trade then. So I'm really surprised at how much different my chart looks after reloading it than it was originally. Then notice we come down, we bounce down here, you get a break, move to a new low, and you get a higher low right here. And I didn't mark that one because it's below that EMA and there's a good bit of resistance across there. But with this being a range day, we're probably going to go on higher, and it's not quite in the 2 o'clock hour. So if you wanted to take that trade, I would at least make it green. And you could argue for it to even be red. It's real close. I would have liked it better if it pushed higher than this one and then pulled back and maybe closed, especially if it would have closed through the EMA, because there's always a chance you push in that EMA and turn down again. So, but we do have a break in a new low here, and there's actually 2 legs down to a new low. This bar is so big and so close back up here. It is a second entry if you're counting from here, first entry, second entry, if you're counting back to the long side. So there is a second entry long, but we're not that far away from the EMA, and it's a really big bar, so I didn't mark it. I think you want to wait on this higher low, which comes here, and I'm going to leave that one green. And that would have worked out. You would have went on higher and had a nice trade there. So, but yeah, in the end, this is just a range day. And everything kind of got tighter as the day went on. Really early on, I was looking at a possible channel working down here, but it really didn't play out. So, and you can see as the day got tighter, then the support and resistance got more obvious here, and the midline kind of moved around too. So Uh, it wasn't a bad trading day. It wasn't a great one. There just weren't, there weren't as many trades. And that's going to continue though, because this, like I said, this is more normal than what you would, we've been getting with all that volatility and all. So we'll see how things go, but I'm going to wrap it up, and that's going to wrap up our week. Again, maybe, maybe not as far as a mid-morning chart tomorrow, but definitely no chart lesson tomorrow. I apologize, but I do have a appointment, and generally when I have to go into that doctor, I've got a late appointment, and I'm usually there for half a day. So, and it's a nice drive for me as well. So I won't be back here till late tomorrow evening. So no chart lesson. I'm just going to call it a week. But anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back Monday. Hope you had a good trading day. Hope you had a good week. I'll see you next week. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.